The month is winding down, and that means it's time for the Maybe series. Hi, hello, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Alex, and today is the Maybe series. So, first of all, I live right next to a highway. It is so loud today. I don't know where everybody needs to be, but everybody needs to be somewhere. So if you hear it in the background, I apologize. But yes, that is my highway outside my window. So if you're new here, the Maybe series is a little list of books I compile towards the end of the month of what I might read in the upcoming month. Usually I read 3 to 4 books depending. There's always a spot on my list for my book club book. I run a book club, and so yeah, I sort of just pilfer down my selections from this list, and this is just sort of the vibe I have right now. You know, it's what's interesting me, what looks good, and yeah, it kind of helps me keep a little bit organized with my thoughts, and it helps me pick my books for the next month. So before we get into it, make sure you hit all the buttons down below so you know when I'm posting. I post every week, and all we do on this channel is talk about books. If you like listening to people talk about books, here I am every week doing just that for you. So the list this week is a little weird. Like, just to put it into perspective, I made half the list earlier this week, and then I made the other half of the list last night. And I was like really in 2 different headspaces when I put the list together. And also, when I first started making the list, I had no idea what I wanted to read, and so I just kind of had to wing it a little bit. I still don't know what I want to read, because then when I was looking back on these books, I was like not excited about any of them. I don't know how I'm gonna pick. I really don't. Like, it's not that I'm not excited, it's that I haven't had a really good book in a long time. A book that was like, oh wow. I really haven't had an oh wow in a while. And I kind of want that, but I don't know how to find it, because obviously if I knew how to find it, then I would have found it by now. Does that make any sense? So yeah, I'm not in a slump yet, but I feel like I'm getting there. I feel like I'm working myself into one. Plus, I've been working a lot lately, and then I'm also like trying to finish out the school year and stuff like that with my family, and it's just been a lot. If I'm honest, it's just been a lot, and I'm just emotionally wrung out. It's okay. We'll get through. We always get through. It'll be fine. So let's not waste any of time. Let's look at the Maybes. Okay, so the first book is The Swell, or it's also been published as The Bay. I'm pretty sure it's The Swell here in the US though, by Allie Reynolds. Okay, so I read Shiver. Y'all have heard me talk about Shiver extensively on this channel. I have talked about Shiver all the time because I absolutely loved that book. It was fantastic. It was probably one of the best thrillers I've read in a long time. That was a long time ago that I read it though, okay? So, on my January goals, like my goals for 2024, Allie Reynolds was one of the authors that I wanted to revisit, right? This is the only other book that she's published, okay? And to top that off, the reviews for this are not great. So, this is the only other book she's published, and a lot of people in the review section were like, I absolutely love Shiver, and so I read The Swell and I was disappointed. I don't know. So, the premise of this book is basically that I think there was a girl that was a professional surfer, or like she surfed with her friends. It was either her friend or her boyfriend that died in a surfing accident, and she was like, you know what, I'm done, I'm never surfing again. She hung up her board, walked away, and then her best friend, so it must have been her boyfriend that died, her best friend was like, come to Hawaii with me and hang out for the summer. And this was like later after everything happened, and she ends up getting back into surfing because the guys that her friend is hanging out with have some sort of like secret that they're hiding, and so she's like trying to get in with them by joining their little surfing group and basically solving whatever the mystery of the book is. Sounds pretty straightforward, okay? And it does have a lot of the same high notes that Shiver did, because Shiver was based around a group of snowboarders that ended up going up on a mountain to solve the murder of their friend that happened when they were in their teens. So it does have sort of the same vibe, you know, like this whole sporty thriller vibe. I don't know. Like I said, the reviews are not as good as they were for Shiver. And a lot of people specifically in the comments said, I love Shiver and I didn't like this. So I don't know. Here it is. We'll see. The next book on the list is Yerba Buena by Nina LaCour. Okay, so I've also talked about Nina LaCour on this channel. If you notice, like the first couple books on this list are all by authors that have had really high hits with me in the past, and so I'm trying to, like, you know, build the momentum, maybe get myself a little hyped. All right, so Nina LaCour wrote We Are Okay, which was just breathtakingly sad and beautiful, and I loved it. Made me cry. It was a lovely story. But Nina LaCour definitely sinks into YA a lot. And the reason I picked this one is because it's her debut adult novel. And I was like, okay, because I'm trying to get out of YA a little bit. Like, over the years, YA has just not done it for me. Okay, the last couple of years, YA has not ticked all the boxes for me anymore. So, when I saw that this was her adult novel, I was like, okay, let's see what it's about. So, it's about two women whose lives are very different that end up come crashing together. And one of them is like putting her life back together after a childhood trauma of some sort. And another one is just trying to find her footing in adulthood. Like she's on like her fifth major that she's trying to decide in college. And like, yeah, she doesn't have like a real path. I don't really know very much about this book. All right. The reviews were pretty good. Like I said, I do like Nina LaCour. This is an adult novel, and I think it is sapphic, which is also like a huge bonus, you know? So yeah, we'll see. I'd be interested to see what Nina LaCour can do outside of YA. Hold Still is another Nina LaCour novel that was on the maybes list a little while ago, but I didn't end up getting it because it was YA, and like, even though We're Okay was YA, it still felt too young for me, but it hit a lot of notes that were very personal to me, so I ended up liking it. So yeah, maybe this will get in, maybe not. I am interested to see how Nina LaCour does adult fiction. The next book on the list is This Is How I Lied by Heather Gudenkauf. So I read The Overnight Guest by Heather Gudenkauf last year, and it was probably one of the better thrillers that I had read last year. It hit a lot of really good high notes for me. Was it a 5-star? No, because I still had like little tiny. I'm so picky. If the book is not perfect, I won't give it the 5 stars. And this book was not perfect. It had minute flaws. Okay, but Heather Gudenkauf really like opened the door for me for like a new favorite thriller writer. Like she's up there for me with like Ruth Ware, or if you like Gillian Flynn. So this one is about a woman whose best friend dies, like she's murdered under suspicious circumstances, and when they're kids, and the case remains unsolved. It goes cold cases, right? Nobody figures out what happened. Well, when she is an adult, she's now like a detective, and they find like where she used to live, they find a huge piece of evidence that like causes them to reopen the case. So now she's like 7 months pregnant and trying to solve this cold case that's just been reopened of her best friend that died when they were younger. That sounds pretty good, right? That has a lot of promise. Like I'm really interested in this book. And like I said, Heather Gudenkauf really delivered for me the last time that I read her. So, yeah. We'll see. Okay, this one is back from a couple months ago. It's River of Shadows by Karina Halle. I think it's Haley. Or it's Hale. I don't know. Because I'm just wanting something different. I have been reading a lot of thrillers or a lot of psychological books and things, and I just feel like I'm kind of stuck in this, and I'm like, maybe I need to branch out, maybe I need to do something different. And this is branching out for me. This is like a romantasy type thing. It is a standalone book, and it's about a woman that finds out her estranged father is dead. So she goes to, his funeral and stuff, and she realizes he's not dead, he's just in like some other underworld type thing, and in order to bring him back to life, she needs to go down and rescue him. So she goes down there and she ends up making a deal with the god of death to release her father if she stays down there with him, the god of death, or whatever he's called. So this also sounds like it has a lot of promise. This sounds like it'd be easy for me to digest and not too complex of an idea. The biggest reason that I stay away from fantasy is the world building is just too much for me, okay? I want to sit there and have a good time. I don't want to decode things. And I know you're probably sitting there thinking that's really funny since you read thrillers, but honestly, thrillers, you can just sit back and relax. You really can, because by the end of the book, everything comes out, the big reveal comes, and then you have like the people that come in and like explain everything. So you're telling me, yes, everything gets explained, okay? So if you don't want to actively solve the puzzle that is before you, someone else will come and solve it for you. And you can just sit back and relax and just be devastatingly surprised. Okay? That is the beauty of thrillers. If you don't want to be an active participant, you really can just sit back and relax. That's not the case with fantasy. Okay? If you're not working, if you're not digesting, if you're not understanding, you're lost the whole time. Okay? If you're not absorbing everything that's happening, you're not going to get it. Okay? And that's a struggle for me, because sometimes I just cannot be spongy enough to adapt to fantasy novels. So they have to be really accessible fantasies for me to actually enjoy it, because if it's too much work, honestly, I don't like it. It feels like an assignment when it's complicated. Do you know what I mean? So this sounds accessible. I'm gonna see if I can get it. Okay, because this is the second time it's been on, and it really does sound interesting to me, and it sounds like something that I could get into. We'll see. But yeah, this would be a major change up for me. The next book on the list is Drowned by Esther Dalseno. Okay, first of all, this cover, it's giving, right? It's so beautiful. I absolutely love this cover. This is mermaid fiction, okay? Now, a long time ago, I read To Kill a Kingdom, and I absolutely adored that book. Earlier this year, I read The Sunken City, and I really liked that book too. So maybe mermaid fantasy is my thing, okay? Maybe that's my jam. So we're gonna look into this. This is obviously like more like siren-esque than mermaid, and everyone said that this book was super dark, disturbing, but beautiful. That sounds like something I could get into. I honestly don't know very much about it. It sounds very Little Mermaid, like she trades being a mermaid to join the human world, right? Or she decides to not become a siren or something like that. But the siren world, or the mermaid world that they live in, is incredibly dark compared to what most mermaid fantasy would be like, okay? Like, yeah, it's supposed to be pretty disturbing, and I'm like, that sounds like something I could get into. So if I can get my hands on this, I'm really interested. Okay, the next two are Returners. Here they are again. It is A Worthy Opponent by Katee Robert. Okay. I cannot even tell you how many maybe series A Worthy Opponent has been on, and I still have not read it. To be fair. Okay, I read Upright Women Wanted, right? Like that was last month. And I put Upright Women Wanted on hold at the same time that I put A Worthy Opponent on hold, and Upright Women Wanted came first. And honestly, if A Worthy Opponent had come in before Upright Women, then I would have read it. Like, I had it on hold. I was ready to go. I was like, yeah, I want to read it, and it just didn't come in. Like, it was on hold for weeks, and then when it finally became available, I didn't have time to read it, so I just let it go. Because if I don't have time, somebody else should read it, So I ended up just letting it go, and I was like, so here it is again. If you don't know, this is from the Wicked Villains series by Katee Robert. It is basically smutty Disney villain gets the girl or the guy. The first one was about Jasmine and Jafar. It's my favorite to date, okay? Because I read the next one, which was Learn My Lesson, and that was Meg, Hercules, and Hades. It was really good, but Hades was kind of a downer, I'm not gonna lie. Okay? The moments between Meg and Hercules were just chef's kiss perfection, okay? And then the moments when they were all three together were also really good, but the dynamic between Meg and Hades for me was really difficult to enjoy. So, yeah, this one is obviously Hook and Tinkerbell, which I have read a lot of Peter Pan fantasy smut type stuff this year, and so I want to see how Katee Robert does with this. Okay, she hasn't disappointed me yet. But yeah, the list of books, now that I'm sitting here talking to you guys about it, the list of books that, oh, I really want to read that. I really want to read, it's getting really long now. I don't know how I'm going to pick, honestly. But yeah, here she is again. And another returner here is If the Shoe Fits by Julie Murphy. Okay, this was on a maybe's list like a long time ago. But when I was sitting here thinking about A Worthy Opponent, this book immediately popped in my head about, I remember wanting to read that. So obviously, if you're looking at the cover and you're reading the title, it is a Cinderella retelling, which it is. This also has a lot of great representation in it, if you can't tell by the cover. And also, this is supposed to be more like a bachelorette type book. Like she's cast in a TV dating show. Do you know what I mean? She's cast in a TV dating show, and so it sort of has this whole thing. And because she's a bigger woman, she sort of becomes this like icon for plus size women all over the world. And yeah, it kind of spins off that. Yeah, this was on a list because I want to break into this series because I think book 2 or 3 are the books that I'm like really interested in. And those are like the Beauty and the Beast retelling is one of them. So yeah, I really want to see if this is worth all the hype. Like everybody's been talking about these books, but let me just tell you, when I see books with these types of covers, these don't interest me that much. I don't know why, but every time I read a book that has this style cover, I'm disappointed. Like honestly. So I don't know. We shall see. I want to like it, and since I want to like it, I feel like I'm not going to. I'm such a pessimist. Anyway, we'll see. If I can get it, we'll see. This is the last book, and it's Rock, Paper, Scissors by Alice Feeney. Now, I'm going to be honest. Alice Feeney has been in my TBR forever, and I've just not read her yet, okay? So I don't know if she's for me. Now, I have a lot of friends that read Alice Feeney and have said, I can't believe you haven't read Alice Feeney yet. Yeah, me neither, but here we are, okay? So I finally looked this one up because this one is one of the more popular ones. Like, I see people reading this a lot. I see it come up a lot. And so I looked into it. It actually sounds really weird and messed up. So I guess this couple that's been married for 10 years went a trip to Scotland, okay? And they're like, yes, let's go. Their marriage isn't really in a great place, and they're like, we should go focus on our marriage, dial back in, right? And so they go, and apparently on their anniversary every year, this man's wife writes a letter to him that she doesn't let him read. And they're in this super isolated place. Like, you can tell on the cover, there's a little tiny house like down there in the middle of all those trees. Apparently, once they get there and they're all like snowed in and what I'm assuming snowed in and everything, she's like, yeah, I'm gonna let you read all these letters, and it's basically 10 years worth of secrets that she's been keeping from him. And then the whole thing kind of just like goes off from there. That sounds really interesting. Okay. I think if this doesn't get read this month, I think that I might postpone it until my winter reading hits. This definitely looks like something that I want to read in the wintertime. Okay, if y'all remember back to my winter aesthetic briefs, this fits perfectly. And this is the type of book that I read basically from November to February. That is my winter aesthetic months, and that is when I read books like this. Can I push it that far? I don't know. Like I said, I've been pumping the brakes on Alice Feeney for whatever reason forever, and I really want to see if she's for me because she's written a lot of books, right? This sounds really interesting. But yes, if I can't get to it this month, I definitely will push it more towards my winter brief areas of the year. Okay, that's all I have for you guys today. That's it. That was so many. I don't know how I'm gonna pick. Like I said at the beginning of the film, at the beginning of this video, I was like, oh, I'm not interested. I was having a hard time, and now I'm like, I don't know how I'm gonna pick. I don't know how I'm gonna pick, honestly. So if you read some of these books and you're like, yeah, you need to read this one, please leave me a comment. Please tell me. I don't know how I'm gonna decide. I'm honestly probably just going to get on and see what my library has right now without a wait and see how it goes from there. Actually, I do know what I'm reading for my book club this month. It's somebody picked early. We did a direct pick, which like doesn't happen that often, so it's really exciting. So I do know what's coming, and it is going to be a thriller. So, maybe not a thriller. Maybe not too many thrillers in May. I don't know. I get in my little reading ruts. Like I said, it's been a long time since I've had like an epic thriller. It's been a long time. I really would like an epic one. I really would, because I want one. I haven't had a super amazing thriller in a long time. Like, to get a 5-star on a thriller for me is just like chef's kiss. Okay, it has to be absolutely perfect to get that. And I don't know. There is literally one book from last year that was a 5-star in the thriller category. One book. That's awful. The year before I had like 3 or 4. One. And let me tell you, that book, the one 5-star thriller from last year, one of the only reasons it got the 5 stars is because it was the end of a series, and it was a really good conclusion to the series. I think it was a really good conclusion, and I really enjoyed all of the work that they put into that. So yeah, that was part of the reason that I got the 5 stars. I really need a good thriller, guys. Anyway, make sure you hit all the buttons down below so you know when I'm posting. I post every week. And yeah, that's all I have for you guys this time. Let me know in the comments if there's any books I should read. If you've read any of these books, tell me about what you're reading right now. I don't care. I love hearing from you guys. Every comment is such a nice thing to see underneath the videos. So yeah, happy reading, and I will see you all next time. Bye.